Thank you, cousin. Thank you. Hello, family. Good afternoon. My name is Angela Shaw Ross. Oh, yes. Let me start that over. Good afternoon. My name is Angela Shaw Ross, and I'm a living descendant of Joseph Shaw, Anthony Shaw, David Bradley, Sarah Bradley. How did we get here today? My Uncle Charles Shaw gave me an envelope with some pictures and an envelope enclosed. He told me that he had done all the research on his mom, and he wanted us young folks to go find his daddy's people. When he passed away in August of 2006, I thought about that envelope. By then, it had been sitting in a box for over 10 years. I had just retired, and after watering my grass, I realized I had nothing to do. So I joined Ancestry.com. I started with the family tree. The family tree was so basic and generic because I only had the names of Anthony and Sarah Shaw from Falls County, Texas. I had to do a DNA test. I cannot express my sincere gratitude for Sharon Stiles. She had already discovered Anthony Shaw and had actively been looking for his living descendants. And here we are today, humbly enjoying the fruits of our labor. My great-great-grandfather, Anthony Shaw, was a slave when he joined the Civil War. He enlisted with the 104th Colored Infantry Regiment stationed in Beaufort, South Carolina. I'm also a proud veteran, having served the United States Army, and glad to say I did my basic training here at Fort Jackson, South Carolina. Yes, thank you. Anthony Shaw's military records, they were filled with depositions that have helped us discover my family history. He tells how he changed his name from Anthony Tisdale to Anthony Shaw, being that Joe Shaw was his father. There was a deposition from Susan, they call her Sookie Shaw, where she's been showed a picture of Anthony and asked, "Do you know this man?" And she says, "Yes, I've known him all his life. He is the son of my old man." Anthony also mentions his half-sibling. He states that his mom died while he was a slave, he was young, and his father, Joe Shaw, married Susan Tisdale. They had 10 children. And lastly, he states that he had a brother named Duke Tisdale that did not go to Texas with them and remained in South Carolina. Now we know that Anthony Shaw, along with his father Joe, stepmother Sookie, siblings, his future wife Sarah Bradley, was part of the 435 freedmen who left Kingstree, South Carolina by rail, arriving in Charleston, South Carolina, leaving on the splendid steamship Adele to Galveston, Texas, and continued their transportation by rail to Falls, Texas. A newspaper article from the Charleston Daily News dated January the 28th, 1867, it reported that the steamship Adele had left the city for Galveston, Texas with 300 to 400 freemen. On Friday, February the 8th, 1867, the Galveston Daily News reported, "Never has occurred before. The steamship Adele has arrived at our port from Charleston, South Carolina. We believe that this is the first arrival that has ever occurred at our port direct from the above named city. Certainly the first steamer to have ever come." Another article on that same day reported the arrival of the steamship Adele as extraordinary, describing 380 freemen of all ages arriving at the port. But sadly, I discovered another article. Come on, Win. I discovered another article from the Galveston Daily News dated Sunday, February the 10th, 1867, and it stated that 2 Negro immigrants recently arrived from Charleston, South Carolina, while waiting for transportation at the G&H Railroad, died from the effects of the cold. One was an old man and the other was a boy. When I started my search for Duke Tisdale, I obtained an obituary on Bernitha Neesmith. It listed her parents as Duke and Addie Tisdale. I created a tree with that information and I got a DNA match. I started looking for the living descendants and I contacted Harold Tisdale. I wanted to know if Duke Tisdale was his grandfather. Harold was very protective. He wasn't sure if he would have a cousin in New Mexico. He asked me for proof. He wanted to know what I looked like. So I texted him a photo and he asked me about my parents and such. Then we started talking about the Shaws and the Tisdales, and he stated he didn't know anything about Duke. We talked for over an hour. And he said, well, my dad would probably know. And I was getting a little puzzled. Because I said, Harold, in order for your father to know, your father would have to be about 100 years old. And to my surprise, he said, yes, he is. He's right here. Needless to say, after I fainted and came back to my senses, I asked if I could talk to his dad, and he said, oh no, I got to talk to my brother LJ. Within 10 days of that phone call, Sharon Stiles and myself, we were back here in Kingstree, South Carolina. We met Paul Locklear Tisdale, the son of Duke Tisdale and Addie Scott. The DNA test was pending. Excuse me. The DNA test was pending. Woo! But I knew in my whole soul that this was going to be a match. Woo! We got here and I shared with Mr. Tisdale a photo of my great-great-grandfather, Anthony Shaw. And he would look at that picture. Hold up. He looked at the picture. He looked at me. He looked at the photo. This would have been his uncle. And he says, hey, look, I should know this fella. And to me, he was looking at a reflection of himself. But sadly, we lost Paul Locklear Tisdale in August of 2023 at the age of 101. However, my records indicate that he could have been 103. But we did not lose his legacy. His DNA test resulted in positive family connection that will continue to help our tireless efforts in reuniting the Shaw Tisdale family. After testing many families from Texas to South Carolina and surrounding areas, this DNA test from Paul Locklear Tisdale and his son, Reverend L.J. Tisdale, is the confirmation we've been looking for, connecting Shaws from Falls County, Texas to Williamsburg County, South Carolina. Are you my cousin? That's why, yes, that's why we carry DNA tests with us when we travel to South Carolina. Are you my cousin? That's why we take DNA tests with us to family reunions. Are you my cousin? That's why when we find you on Facebook and we ask you to do a DNA test, we are connecting our family back together again. I have been able to connect 6 offsprings of Joe Shaw and Susan Tisdale by DNA testing. And I am thrilled to share with you my great-great-grandparents. This is Anthony Shaw and Sarah Bradley. I'm also thrilled to share with you Susan Sookie Shaw. I have this picture as a courtesy from our cousin Michelle Christopher, and she's in Fort Worth, Texas. Sorry about the wind, trying to get our pictures down. Thank you for that. This is a good day for us to recognize what blind faith looks like. These 435 men, women, and children, they went to a church meeting. They listened to an offer to leave the only home most of them had ever known. They had to trust in God that things would be better. And as I am standing here in Kingstree, South Carolina, at the rail station where my family boarded a train, I am proud to tell you we made it. It was not always milk and honey, but here we are. Many of these families bore doctors, lawyers, preachers, teachers, servicemen and women, and a few genealogists who would tell their story to anyone who would listen. With the discovery of the transportation orders, we will continue to give voice to all of them. We will continue building that bridge that will forever link Kingstree, South Carolina to the living descendants of Texas and beyond. Finally, I would like to thank Vicki McGill, the host of the African American Kingstree Williamsburg County Research Group, and the project manager for today's events. I'd like to thank the town of Kingstree, the state and elected officials, the Williamsburg County Historical Society, and the Black Pearls of Genealogy. My name is Angela Shaw Ross, and I'm a living descendant of Joe Shaw, Anthony Shaw, Sarah Bradley, and her father, David Bradley, along with 16 other named individuals on this beautiful monument.